Hello everybody and welcome on my journey to watch 500 films in 1 year. The next 8 films I watched were all of the movies in the Ring franchise, not including a TV movie made in 1995, or The Ring Virus, a South Korean version of Ring. Ring is about a TV reporter and single mother who is caught up in a series of deaths surrounding a cursed videotape. Ra Suen is about a young pathologist who seeks answers to a mysterious death of a friend and comes into contact with the same cursed videotape that caused the death of the friend's wife and son. Ring 2 is an alternative sequel to Ring, made after there was a poor response to Ra Suen, and taking place a couple of weeks after the first film, directly continuing the story and featuring most of the cast from the first movie. Ring Zero is a prequel to Ring, in which a young Sadako joins a drama group in the hopes of escaping her troubled past. The Ring is the US version of the Japanese film, and is about a journalist who must investigate a mysterious videotape which seems to cause the death of anyone within a week of them viewing it. The Ring 2 is the sequel to the US version of the Japanese film, and takes place 6 months after the incidents involving the lethal videotape, where new clues prove that there is still something evil lurking in the darkness. Sadako 3D is about the spiteful ghost of Sadako reaching the internet and her search for a host in order to live once again. Sadako 2 3D is about a psychology grad student who becomes involved with the cursed videotape while she is taking care of her 4-year-old niece. This franchise was based on the Ring trilogy, a series of novels written by Koji Suzuki, released in the 1990s. Initially there were 3 books, Ring, Spiral and Loop, and an anthology book called Birthday was released shortly after, introducing extra stories interconnecting the trilogy. 2 further books, S and Tide, were also published in 2012 and 2013. The first film in the franchise is absolutely superb. From the tense and compelling plot to the excellent acting, this is a movie that will remain relevant in the horror genre for decades to come. I liked the fact that the film was a cross between a thriller and a horror, and the filmmakers never let you forget that time is of the essence for the characters. I also found the cursed video contents and climax of the action at the end of the movie to be unforgettable. It's no surprise, therefore, that this movie appears on many lists of films to see before you die. As I mentioned already, Ra Suen had much less of an impact than its predecessor, despite the fact that it was released at the same time, in the hope that the approach would increase revenues. The movie was written and directed by Hoji Ida, whereas Ring was written by Hiroshi Takahashi and directed by Hideo Nakata, and followed the narrative of the novels. I would imagine people struggled with this movie as a result of the change in focus. This explores possibilities that science provides and strays away from traditional horror elements. I have to admit I liked the complete change in direction, but I felt there were times when the audience was expected to suspend their disbelief a little too much. There is also quite a definitive conclusion to the movie, so I'd be interested in reading the books to find out how Loop tackled what seemed a pretty ominous ending of the previous novel. Ring 2 brought back the director and writer of Ring, and was far more successful, probably due to the fact that the tone and look of the film is very similar to Ring. Any recurring cast members were played by the same actors, meaning the continuity was faultless, and there was a logical progression to the plot, as well as a gripping ending. Lovers of Spiral will be pleased to know that science is not completely left out of the movie. Forensic science, including facial reconstruction, forms part of the storyline, but this movie is certainly more of a traditional, easy-to-watch companion piece to the 1998 film. Ring Zero goes back in time and explores Sadako's life when she was a beautiful, deeply shy and thoughtful young woman. The movie reminded me a little of Carrie, and I felt equally sorry for the main character, and somewhat frustrated that people could not just leave them alone. The trilogy is ended very neatly, Many unanswered questions were resolved and new insights were shared, so I came away feeling very satisfied by the conclusion. The Ring, the American remake, is very sympathetic to the original Ring movie, but there are some tweaks to the storyline and a more assertive brand of horror. The look of the movie is quite similar also. A green-grey tinge fills the screen during most scenes, and strong surreal imagery is used, although I much preferred the original video concept. Even though I quite enjoyed quite a bit of this movie, I found my attention straying about 3/4 through, probably as the film running time is an unnecessary 2 hours, but I absolutely loved the explanation given regarding the significance of 7 days, and the particularly inventive opening drawer camera shot. The Ring 2, the sequel to the American remake, is a standalone movie, in the sense that its plot has little to do with the Japanese movies. It centres on Naomi Watts' character and her son, and provides more backstory on Samara. I liked the fact that the female characters are independent and capable, and there is a memorable scene set in a bathroom, but this movie had none of the mystical charm of some of the other films, instead dumbing down the content for Western audiences in my opinion. Sadako 3D is based on the novel S, and focuses on the impact of the Sadako curse in modern-day Japan. Despite the fact that I think this could have been fun to watch in 3D, I found there to be little to celebrate about this movie. Sadako hardly features, the plot is absurd, the effects are atrocious, and the movie basically cheapened the franchise. Sadako 2 3D is not as bad as the previous film, which is surprising, but it's still shocking compared to the other movies in the franchise. The best thing about the film is definitely the little girl who plays Nagi. She is so stylish, a good little actor, and is simply adorable. And I have to admit I did jump massively during one scene, but those elements were not enough to save the movie as a whole. I would say that the Ring franchise is superior to the Ju-on franchise, perhaps because the Ring story draws on Japanese folklore, but the new Rings film, previously titled Ring 3D, is due out in October, so perhaps I'll change my mind. I would say that I loved Ring, Ring 2 and Ring 0, so they get a huge thumbs up. I quite liked Rasuen and The Ring, so they get a thumbs up. I wasn't keen on the Ring 2 and the Sadako 3D movies, so they get a thumbs down. Please join me for my next review, where I'll be talking about Suicide Squad, written and directed by David Ayer. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and I hope to hear from you soon.